All right. Well, December 22nd, 2023. Not many days left in this year. Welcome to the podcast.
Howdy.
Here we are, Aspen Porch sitting inside though, because it's a little cold outside.
Titty nibbly.
Didn't nibbly. Weekend before the holiday festivities. So Friday night. Good to see you. Casey Inslee, Jeff
Cheers.
Anderson here.
Yeah.
Cheers to y'all. Cheers to you.
Bottoms up.
Mentioned it was cold outside. We had to get a little
That was good. What was that? Sincor what?
Sincoro tequila.
Sincoro tequila. Yeah.
Michael Jordan's in the tequila business, y'all.
Shout out Michael Jordan. What's up, buddy?
Shout out Michael He might be a loftier aspiration for a guest than the Manning brothers that we were talking about
Oh yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
I don't know. I feel like MJ's a cool dude. I think he'd get down.
It's true. MJ's
Living
cool.
Illinois guy. He's not from there. But
There's
he's
a,
currently residing.
you've probably seen this, but this just speaks to the swag of MJ. Tonight's topic, by the way, Merry fucking Christmas.
Happy fucking
We're gonna talk about the
Merry
holidays,
Christmas.
some traditions, but first a quick Jordan story.
Yeah, let's go.
So somebody, I guess some reporter, it was like the anniversary of the Bulls 72-10 team.
Okay.
And asked if they could beat whatever team it was that just won the national champ. There's versions of this story, so I don't know how much of this is true because it rotates to that he said this about the Golden State Warriors when they went 73-9 and broke the all-time regular season win record. And somebody asked him, like, hey, do you think the Bulls from I think it was 97, 98 season or 96, 97, do you think that Bulls team, the all-time great team, could beat the Lakers or the Warriors or whatever team it was? He goes, yeah, I think yeah. And they go, by how much? He goes, I don't know, 4 or 5. And they go, why only 4 or 5? He goes, well, most of us are almost 60 now.
You may literally get the guys back together. That's pretty good.
That is awesome.
Getting the band back together.
Because we're almost all 60.
I mean, I'm sure he can play still. I'm sure Pippen can still play. I'm sure Rodman can still play.
We talked about this before with some of the differences of going from like high school to top flight collegiate athletes and the level of like incrementally how much better they are, and then going from like even D1 where these guys are all studs.
Sure.
And then you go to the pros and these guys are like, it's unbelievable the level of talent that these guys have.
Oh, it's next level.
How good those guys are.
I mean, you got to say, like, I don't know about for basketball, but for like hockey, D1 college hockey, these are like your best arguable hockey players. And it's like 1% of those guys go on to the pros.
But go to a game early and watch them like work on their drills, their balance, their coordination, and some of the off-balance stuff they do. I mean, these guys are shooting in the NBA from the three-point line like 35%. Often shooting 40 to 60%, depending on what position you play. Like if you're center, you're probably shooting closer to 60. Shaq, I think, shot almost 70% from the field for his career.
Right.
And that's with the world's best defenders guarding you.
Right.
Watching what they do when no one is on them.
It's like 100%.
Just fucking burning the net.
They don't miss it.
It's crazy. Yeah. One of my favorite things, it's not a fun game to watch because it's not good basketball, but to see the athletic prowess of these athletes is the NBA All-Star game.
Oh, yeah.
When these guys are warming up and doing like the drills and just like bouncing the ball around and like throwing it around like over their shoulder, and it's like all smooth.
And it's effortless. And it's like the most, hockey's the same way. The All-Star hockey game, it's kind of hard to watch. Because it's just like, oh, I got the puck and I'm going to do 6 crazy moves that no one ever can do ever in their entire life and score a goal. Yeah. But they don't really play that hard of defense. Yeah. But, I mean, it's, the level.
Well, the average score in an NBA game is something around like a total of 220 points. So each team scores 110 or something like that, 108 to 102 or whatever.
I mean, I don't think that if you set the timer, gave me a basketball by myself on the court, I could score that many baskets. Well, without having to go back and forth and have anyone guard me.
Here's the kicker in the All-Star game. Same amount of clock, but instead of scoring on average of an NBA game like 220, the over-under is always set at like 360 for this game. Like, these two teams will put up 170 on each other.
Oh my god!
In 4 12-minute quarters.
I'd have to like have a second half scorekeeper because he gets worn out.
Totally button for fingers sprained.
Bring in the new scoreboard. Burn this one down.
Yeah, crazy. So that's kickoff on the sports, although some good sports lined up. That's kind of one of the holiday traditions,
Right.
watching sports over the
Sports.
Thanksgiving is football.
Totally.
Traditionally, Christmas is more NBA. But this year,
For you.
well, there's no football games on Christmas.
No?
No, there is this year though, because Christmas Eve lands on a Sunday.
Right.
So technically, they have a Monday night game on Christmas.
Right.
But they never, the NBA is the one that always gets
Plays.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess hockey. I don't ever remember like sitting around as a family watching hockey. We never really Christmas. I don't think the TV ever really came on. And if it did, it was like Christmas Story or Christmas Vacation or we playing with our toys outside. Totally
riding the
getting
new bike.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Go outside, get yourself hurt.
Totally.
That was one tradition in our family is one of the kids got hurt
with the toy.
Yeah, but it was like every holiday. So like Easter, it was getting warm and nice out, so we could start playing outside again. Someone got hurt. 4th of July, someone got hurt. Thanksgiving, someone. I mean, we played rough.
Played right. I was going to say, outside.
Yeah,
in a padded room.
You could pretty much count on somebody making a trip to the emergency room on every holiday.
That's hilarious. There's one particular standout. Any of yours? Any?
No, I was the one. Knock on wood. We'll see
what happens Monday.
See how loose it gets on Monday, right?
Might get some West Street wiffle ball or who knows?
No, I was always the one. It was usually my fault, but it was rarely ever me. Yeah, I mean, I lined up they
ran away from a few teams.
I mean, I built the ramp, but I lit the firecracker. Yeah, no, man. One of my cousins we were like running around that grandma's house playing tag, and he got like I don't even know what happened. Somebody got like, remember those pins that have like multiple colors?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I think it was one of my younger girl cousins, and she got one as like a stocking stuffer or something, who knows. And everyone wanted to try it, and she wouldn't let anyone. So like my cousin John fucking grabs the pin and like takes off running, trips, falls, like pins himself in the eyeball. Totally.
Oh my God.
And of course my cousin, she's like, that's what you get. That's what you get. And he's like, bleeding out of his eye. Yeah. And so grandma
ruthless.
Oh yeah, totally. So of course, grandma
no empathy.
Goes outside, revs up the Buick, takes him to the emergency room. He has his eye and he's fine, complete recovery. But yeah, I mean, my sister broke her arm one year. My cousin Jarrett fell on the like jungle gym. And remember like the jungle gyms back in the day, they had like the bolts that held them together. Yeah. So he like fell off of it and hooked the back of his leg and like literally from below his knee to above his butt cheek, ripped the back of his leg open.
One of the screws?
Yeah, one of the bolts, rusty bolts.
Yeah.
And fortunately, there was an off-duty firefighter there at the park where we were playing. And wrapped his leg up and might have saved his life because I mean he was bleeding.
The audience can't see me. I'm squirming in my chair thinking because I know those bolts. I know what they are. They were just unforgiving.
And where were the adults on that? Like, who goes, I'll just cut this bolt off, leave this razor sharp, jagged edge on this piece of equipment the kids are going to play
on daily. Yeah.
It's like, where were you at on that? And, I think, gosh. I want to say it was like over 100 staples down the back.
Staples,
It was probably closer to 200. Like the muscle was hanging out of the back of his leg.
Come on,
dude. It was gnarly. I'm not kidding you. If the firefighter wouldn't have been there, who knows? He might have bled out. Who knows? I mean, I've done tours in Iraq, and it's one of the more gruesome injuries I've seen. So,
and how old was this kid?
Shit, he was probably 10, 8.
Oof. How did he handle it? Was he freaking out?
No, he's tough as nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just, he cried, but he wasn't like freaking out, like out of proportion. He was just like, I think I'm really hurt. And we're like, oh shit, you're so hurt.
We know you're really hurt. Confirmed.
Yeah. Your level of upsettedness is surprisingly low.
Oh my God.
We're all more concerned than you seem to be.
That is brutal.
But yes, I mean, I guess, as far as holiday traditions, the emergency room.
Well, I guess there's maybe a consideration in there. It sounds like it was. I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyway. It's tough to go outside and play with your toys if there's a bunch of snow on the ground, depending on what toys you got. So
Totally.
what percentage of Christmases were white Christmases when you were growing up, do you think?
It
might be very rare.
Yeah, no, I would say the opposite. My
Oh.
memory would, if you're asking, and who knows, because over time you build shit up in your head.
Totally.
But no, I mean, all my memories of Christmas are white Christmases.
Huh.
Like I remember we got bikes one year, and I remember me and my sister just went and like rode the bikes around the garage because there was too much snow outside. And one Christmas I got like one of those like cheap plastic snowboards from like Farm and Fleet. Like because I remember we were in Farm and Fleet when I was a kid. It's like maybe 2 weeks before Christmas. And they had like this one snowboard like hanging on the wall. And I was like, that's what I want for Christmas. And my parents were like, what? We live in Illinois. We don't need a freaking snowboard. You've never even snowboarded before in your life. Why would we buy you a snowboard? And I just like harped on it and harped on it and harped on it. And finally, I think my parents just got it for me.
How was snowboarding even on your radar?
I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
It looked like a skateboard, but I knew it was for snow.
All right.
I'm sure I saw like in a magazine or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And so sure as shit, Santa Claus brought it.
Yeah.
And it was just to shut me up because I knew that they knew. And come to find out, Farm and Fleet like got it on accident. It just like showed up in a shipment of crap.
I guess I'll put it out.
Put it on the wall. No one even really knew what it was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out Farm and Fleet for
Shout out.
shredding out the Midwest.
Next thing you know, I live in Colorado. I have a real snowboard now.
Actually did some snowboarding.
Real mountains.
Yeah.
Oh no, bud. I snowboarded the shit out of that thing.
Allegedly, dude.
No, I did. We
you mean the one from Farm and
the
Fleet?
one from Farm and Fleet? Yeah, they had so we had like a ski hill, which I'm sure was probably like a landfill at some point or whatever. But or like they built a building and then it was just like a pile of dirt from the building that they excavated. But it was pretty good. I mean, it took you a few minutes to walk up it. But yeah, sure as shit, man. Snowboard out and
I'm just envisioning like a board you stand on like a string from
no.
So
proper bindings
that
that were screwed down to it,
right.
With straps, a toe strap and a heel strap. Very cheap plastic, but
you
they were
strap
there.
in with your own
Sorel boots.
Yeah, okay.
Like I wore like Sorel boots. But it was thick. It was like an inch thick, so it was like molded plastic.
The board.
So it was like molded, like molded plastic.
Yeah.
So it was like had a top layer and a bottom layer, but it was hollow in the middle, and it was plastic. But it was like proper length, proper width, like the dimensions were right.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't made out of like how they make skis and snowboard. It was just like that injected molded plastic, whatever. But you bet your ass, man, I strapped into that thing and I was up and down the hill for entire winter.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't at home, I was on that snowboard and no turns. It was just a point and shoot situation.
Did you just fall down to stop or like how did
No, you just run out of speed at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Just peter out.
Yeah.
And then run it back
and the
up.
further you could go, the better you did that time.
Yeah.
And I do remember I did get fairly good at it after the second or third time I took it out.
It's like
and so
or what's the sled pull, where they put the weights on the back of the truck and try to see if you can
pull tractor pull.
It's like see who can go the
Who
farthest.
can go the further. And then I do remember we ended up piling up a bunch of snow and built a jump.
Nah, of course.
And
natural progression.
Yeah, 100%. This didn't hurt me. What's the next step?
And I can go down the hill now without falling over.
Right. So this has gotten boring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gotta
escalate
up this a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
So built like a little jump. Started out being like a foot high, 2 foot high, 3 foot high. And I was like jumping off of it, and people were like standing at the bottom of the sled hill, just shaking their head at this fucking Mark kid strapping his ass to this plastic board, just lying down the
There
mountain.
he goes again,
Just
Mark.
jumping off of stuff. Like, something's wrong with that boy. Just keep your eye on him. Something's wrong with him.
Yeah.
But no, I loved it. And my parents were proud and ashamed and all in the same
Sure.
pile of just raising me, apparently. But
Well, the bystanders were right. There is something wrong with you.
yeah,
They weren't wrong on
no,
that. They just might have been misgauging what the
yeah, no, we'll get to the bottom of one of these days.
misses were. That's fun. That makes me think of like snowboard or your snowboarding story. It was like I had the same progression with skateboarding
Yep.
and with BMX.
Yep,
You know, you start out just figuring out how to ride the thing.
totally.
Then you learn how to like ride your bike with no hands.
Yep.
You know, then you learn how to like, then you start trying to jump it.
Well,
Then you start jumping.
wheelie was close
Yeah.
second.
Well, yeah, totally. This is an order of
Yeah.
progression or order,
Totally.
but it always ends up with jumps and like
He jumps 100%. If you weren't jumping, you weren't doing it.
totally.
So that funny, that's how my sister ended up in the emergency room on, I believe it was Easter. I was jumping everything, and my dad was into motocross. When he was younger, he was motocross and then flat track, and had some success. But he saw me as a kid, like jumping the BMX bike, but he also saw like these ramps that I were building.
Yeah.
And he's like, the most dangerous thing about what you're doing is the ramp that you've built. Because it was like some firewood and a piece of plywood propped up on it. You know, like, dude, and it's like the ramp is gonna be what hurts you. It's not gonna be the jumping.
Yeah, the landing.
So my dad, he's a super handy guy. He built me this really nice ramp for my bike, and it wasn't super big. It was probably 2 feet, 2.5 feet wide. It probably was maybe 1.5 feet off the ground, 2 foot. No vert to it, just a straight, angled ramp like a wedge.
Yeah.
And of course, it turned into who could jump the furthest off of it.
Of course.
And we had sidewalk chalk, and we would mark who was carrying it. Of course, yours truly, champion every time.
Are you going front wheel or back wheel?
Back wheel.
Yeah.
Always had to be back wheel.
Yeah.
But Easter, I don't know what. I think my sister got like some new, I don't know, shoes or something for Easter Bunny. Always brought us a little something in our basket.
Okay.
And something about her shoes or her dress or whatever the hell she got for Easter gave her confidence to try the ramp.
Okay.
And so she's on her, like, who knows, princess bike. Oh my God.
The bars, basket on the front.
And I'm like, Molly, my sister Molly, the key to going off this ramp is don't hit the brakes.
Yeah.
You want to just get up a little bit of speed and go off the ramp and let momentum take care of it.
Yeah.
If you're going too slow, you'll nosedive and you could possibly flip over the handlebars.
Yeah.
But if you're going at a pretty good clip, you don't really have to do anything, just stand up.
Yeah.
Well,
don't go crazy in the air.
Yeah. And she did not listen to my advice or education or coaching or whatever.
Yeah.
So she got ahead of steam, and she went off the ramp and then grabbed a whole bunch of brakes. She's like in the air, she scared herself, and she grabbed the brakes and hit, and horrendous crash, broken arm
Over the handlebars.
Yeah. So I'm run into the house, Mom, Dad, I think Molly's hurt. And they're like, oh, tell her to come on inside. And I'm like, no, I think you need to go outside. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, her arm's kind of hanging off, and it's twisted up in the bike, and I don't want to move her. And my parents are like, all right. So like, they're still like having coffee. We had gotten up at, Easter Bunny came.
Yeah.
So we're up at like, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're already outside getting hurt by 7:30.
I was gonna say your holidays stories are like, I was thinking more like happiness, and like you guys are like more like hospital.
Yeah. I mean, our family plays hard.
I mean, I get behind that.
We go hard.
We take a day off. Can we have Christmas together?
Yeah, right. No.
Jesus.
No. But yeah, Mom.
And when you lived in the rural areas, it wasn't like the ER was,
No.
10 minutes away.
No, it was like go out to the barn, start the truck, get back to the house, get dressed, go back out. I mean, it was just the thing. And
my goodness, that's
yeah.
hilarious. My first ramp I ever built was for skateboarding, and I'd go out and visit my dad in the summers in San Diego in Southern California, and there was this little skate shop. I was like, my dad worked. He was doing like he did like audio installation in cars. So this was like in the like early 90s when like cell phones were still those big things that'd be installed in the center console of your car. or he would just start
Zach Morris style.
Well, yeah, but like the bag phone, so
Yeah.
you could like pull in and out of
Totally.
the car, so it's like a mobile phone, but it's also your car phone.
Yep, we had one.
Yeah, and my dad also did pagers and like things that went along with that, but then also all the audio in your car. So security would install new radios, sound systems, all this stuff.
I mean, at that time, cars came with crappy radios and like one speaker. So if you wanted to have good tunes, you had to do these things.
Yep. So this was in like a kind of a what's the there's a name for this, but like a like where your old shop was, like what would you call that? Like a not a strip mall, but
like an industrial area.
Yeah, like a park.
Yeah,
Like industrial park. So like all of these places have like a front door where they have like a business office on this side, and then like a bay door where they
and like a shop in the back,
and you can pull cars in, and then shop in the back and storage and all that. So I'd go to work with my dad, and just because it was better sitting at home.
Totally.
It was like I was out here to visit him for the summer, so whatever.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I would always do was skateboard, and I just had some like beat up skateboard. Well, in this industrial park, there was a skate shop, like a distribution spot where they'd go to their retail locations. But,
okay, not like a store.
No, I mean, but they had like a small little office where they would do business, but it was more like a warehouse where they would ship out stuff to the local. It was like a local distribution center almost, right? So it wasn't like people were in and out merchandising or buying.
I mean, and you're in California, so there's skateboards everywhere.
Yeah. But I would skate through the whole thing all day long. So all I would do is just skate around and check stuff out and come back for lunch and skate around. And
there goes that kid again. Just skateboarding around.
That's what I did, man. That was awesome. And it's not a thing in Arkansas, so it was like when I come out in the summer, I was like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd skate around, and like this guy finally came out and like said what's up to me. He's like, you like to skate? And then I kind of put the name of the company was called Cockroach.
Okay.
And so they never really blew up or anything. But this guy like made a deal with me. He's like, I see you out here all the time. Like, where do you get your stuff? I'm like, well, usually like ask for it for my birthday. Or, I try to work and do chores, and
I'm 12. I don't have any money.
Well, I worked at my family restaurant, so like I all kind of actually did have money.
Oh, okay.
That's how I got my skateboard or whatever I wanted. Is like I would never ask my parents to buy me stuff. Christmas for sure. I was like, I was pretty fortunate that we would have good Christmases. We weren't rich by any means, but mom always made Christmas happen. Anyway, I always had a little walking around cash. Like when I was 12, I probably always had like 10 or 20 bucks on me.
No shit.
I'm not kidding. Because I worked at my grandma's restaurant, and I would save my money because what am I going to spend it on?
Right.
I mean, you know what I used to do with my money? Actually, quick aside, I would take the money that I would make busting tables at my grandmother's restaurant, and I would take and I'd work like 3 hours or something. So I'd have $15.
Okay.
And I'd go to school, and we had the little pencil shop.
Yeah.
Where you could buy all your
pencils.
Supplies.
Yeah.
And I would buy like $10 worth of pencils. And the lady and I'd have it in my little school box. You know what I mean? A little plastic container.
I know when you're selling them to kids in class.
Yeah, because it was huge in that era.
The hustle started that early.
You know what was huge in that era? Did you ever
pencil pop?
Totally,
yeah, dude, pencil pop. Let's go.
So when people would run out of pencils and they couldn't play anymore,
because
the store was closed. Because it was only open 10 minutes before class in the morning.
Oh my God.
So in the afternoon, guess how much pencils cost?
$5.
Twice as much in the morning.
These aren't a quarter anymore.
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
Inflation.
So
my God. So the hustle started that early.
So I kind of put together this stupid, skateboard, and it was functional, it was fine. But anyway, this guy made me a deal, like quid pro quo. Like I do some work around the shop, sweep up, take the trash out, whatever.
Awesome.
He'll throw me some gear.
Yeah.
So by the end of the summer, I have this like new deck,
legit
spacers, trucks, wheels, like grip tape
stuff. Yeah.
And I'm out of gear. So he starts styling me out with like Cockroach swag, like stickers and shirts and shorts and that.
Next thing you know, I'm a pro skateboarder.
I'm kind of a sponsored skater.
Right. Totally. In my book, you were a pro skater.
I guess I was actually. Now I'm telling the story. I guess I was because I was compensated for
skateboard stuff.
For skateboard stuff, yeah, mostly for taking out trash.
Mostly broom stuff. Mostly janitorial stuff.
So I took the trash out of my skateboard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's pro skating.
I could get to the bin.
Anyway, if you've made money on a skateboard, you're a pro skater.
To wrap up, I didn't mean for it to be this long, but to wrap up, my
hilarious.
first ramp was 3 pallets. The crate pallets,
shipping pallets,
in a piece of plywood. Big. and a couple of nails stamped on top. And of course, you know, the entry, like when you go from the pavement.
The transition, yeah.
It's like not good.
No.
And we could never really get that dialed out.
Yeah.
So the ramp was like, you kind of had to ollie onto it, which means
Right.
you landed flat on the ramp. And then
you didn't have a whole lot of time to get ready to do whatever you were doing next.
Yeah. So you usually just landed on top of the pallet,
Yeah.
or like it wasn't a great thing, but it was a fun summer.
Yeah. No, so the ramp that my sister got broke on, my dad destroyed it immediately because he was like so mad at himself.
Yeah, we're
that
done
he
with
built
this.
it. But my buddy, who I was playing hockey with at the time, his dad built him one, and it was even better because it had like vert.
Oh,
And so my buddy Carson, he got himself hurt on it, and so his dad was gonna tear that one down.
oh.
And I was like, "Oh no, I'll take it." So I don't know how we got it back.
So
to
brought
my,
home another ramp.
I don't know how we got it back to my house. I mean, it was like miles. And somehow we got it back to the house. And like no parents involved because we knew if there was a parent involved, they're not going to.
They're shutting this operation down.
100%. This was a black op. I mean, this was not sanctioned. This was as clandestine as could be. We were, we were off station, and somehow we got it back to the house. And there was this girl that I was kind of sweet on, and she told me that her parents had a Polaroid camera. So like, Polaroid camera, like you get the picture immediately. And somehow I roped her into coming out to the house and laying underneath the ramp so she could take pictures of me jumping my skateboard over her.
Sick angle.
Oh my God. And she did. And I got like a couple of really awesome pictures of me like jumping over her. Yeah.
God, if you could find that.
And then the next day we're riding the bus home, and she's like, "Hey, so do you want me to come over again and take some more pictures?" And I was like, "No, we're good. Actually, I don't think this is gonna work out." I totally used her for pictures.
And then hung up the career the next day?
No, I kept skateboarding, but I didn't need her for anything else. I'm such a terrible kid. And she was like broke, and her mom called my mom, and my mom was like, "Hey, I don't know.
What do you want me to do?
I'm like, hey, he's crazy. You should see him in the winter."
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, back to holiday shit.
Yeah, well, we're not too far from it, I think. Let's see, traditions. One thing that my family did when I was growing up, was we would always open one present on Christmas Eve.
Oh, we never got that.
I always thought that was kind of a cool thing because it was such torture to see them all under the table or under the tree for Christmas Eve, and then have to sleep through the night waiting for Santa to come. And it was just like, so it always took the edge off a little bit, the anxiety.
So that was Jenna does the same thing.
Yeah.
Jenna's family, they were like one present before. And so now that has become kind of a tradition with Jenna and I.
Oh, cool.
We do a present before.
And you're only allowed for what's under the tree,
Not Santa presents.
It's not Santa presents, family presents, whatever's in the tree. You get to pick one.
Sure.
And
damn, socks. This was the worst pick.
Well, the good news is even if it's something like low key like that, you're just one sleep away from the rest.
Right.
But at least you got like some of the practice, dexterous practice of opening, getting ready for paper ripping the next day. But my favorite thing, moreover than presents, was always my stocking.
Stocking?
That was my biggest tradition. I loved my stocking. My mom would always put like the coolest stuff in my stocking. And I think that's like, especially if you have a partner, you can find out like how well your partner knows you by like how long your stocking is.
I fail at stocking.
What?
I
feel like you'd be great at stockings. You don't like to buy shit though.
I hate buying shit.
Yeah, trinkets and trash.
Yeah.
That's not your
No, like Jenna.
And that's kind of what goes in stockings is consumable stuff like candy or the favorite candy.
Jenna gets me like body wash.
Seasonal chocolate.
Yeah, Jenna gets me like the soap body wash shit that I like. She gets me like stupid shit like deodorant, toothpaste, stuff that I don't buy.
Yeah.
Like I'll use the same toothbrush for a year. And like, it's
Wait,
like
how often are you supposed to switch your toothbrush?
I don't know, apparently more often than I do. Apparently I have terrible hygiene.
I don't know the answer to this question, according to my wife.
I mean, 44 years old, and I've spent most of my life living out of a bag. So
I don't know what correct time frame is, but
See, like ours, as kids growing up, we had 0 presents under the tree. The tree was barren until we went to bed, and then Christmas morning, everything came out. And so even like presents from mom and dad didn't go under the tree.
You would keep them in your room?
No, mom and dad would keep them hidden.
Oh.
And I found one in my entire believing in Santa life. I found one present, and I was a hunter. I mean, like I was digging through the house for like after Thanksgiving that it started.
Pros, huh?
Oh my God. I think, let me tell you how big of a pro. And this is a great story. My dad and mom they're big kids. They really are.
All right.
The apple did not fall.
I was gonna say it's sitting across from me.
So in order to
sell, in a pod, by the way,
you're in the same boat, cowboy.
Not pointing fingers.
In order to sell the Santa Claus thing, because my dad is, when you talk about a kid on Christmas, that is my dad.
Yeah.
To this day.
His favorite holiday?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like you can't, for the week before and the day of, it's the biggest smile you've ever seen on an adult.
Love that though.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
Cool.
But he would go out at night on Christmas Eve and he would throw rocks on the roof. He'd be like, you hear that? Reindeer.
Nice.
He'd be like, go to bed, kids. You guys have to go to bed. And he would go and throw rocks and he'd run in our bedrooms. He'd be like, did you guys hear it? He's here. Everyone be quiet. Go to sleep. He's here. I'm like, Dad, tell him I said hi. I'll put in a good word. And then in the morning, he would grab a couple 2x4s out of the garage and make tracks.
Oh, nice.
I mean, like he was into
it. That's awesome.
Yeah, this guy was
cool.
He's crazy. And we always did you like the milk and cookies out the night before?
Yeah,
we did that.
Yeah.
And then we always got a handwritten note we always did the milk cookies on a paper plate.
Yeah.
And we got a handwritten note from Santa telling us to be good.
Yeah.
And it always he had this weird Santa and my dad have the exact same handwriting. That's weird. It's crazy. It's so weird. But yeah, and then we'd wake up in the morning and the rule was we weren't allowed to go out in the living room. We had to go to parents' room first. And we weren't allowed to go into mom and dad's room until sunrise. And so they would check the newspaper and find out what time sunrise was. And so whether it was 6, whatever, or something. And then we would go, Molly and I, usually Molly would get up first. She would come wake me up. And then we would together go into mom and dad's room and wake mom and dad up. Yeah. And then we'd have to sit in mom and dad's room and wait. They got their slippers on. So they did all their shit. And dad would like make coffee. And I'm like, oh my God, it's been 6 weeks. Another thing you have to do. Jeez, I've already outgrown these toys. No, but yeah. But what dad would do is he'd go out and he'd like plug the tree in, turn the lights on, put Willie Nelson Christmas. Oh my God, Willie Nelson Christmas on the record player. And
we had the best living room for the Christmas tree, and I loved it because it was like we had this big window. We didn't have like a big house, but it was a 2-story house, and the living room was kind of like front and center of the house, and it was like adjacent to the front door. So it was like 3 big plain pane windows. And the tree would sit right in the middle of the living room, right in the middle of the windows, and then TV was off the side, fireplace here, and then couches along the wall, and around the side. So it was just like perfect stadium for like
that's like out of a movie.
Christmas activity. Let's go. We did have to implement a no tinsel rule in the house at some point because one year one of the little brothers got carried away, I think. It was
got a little overly
tinsel everywhere. But my mom was good about like stenciling the windows, and she would light up the tree in the morning. She was pretty good about it too. And she was master at hiding stuff as well. I wasn't really a hunter, but there would be tons of presents. And I mean, some of and when I say tons of presents, it wasn't like I was fucking spoiled.
Right.
Like, we were definitely like, blessed and like
we were the same way. We didn't really get shit all year.
But there would just be a bunch of presents, but most of them were like $5, $10, $20 type thing.
A Hot Wheels car.
And a lot of them were unexciting. They were like pants that I needed for school that I don't give a crap about opening on Christmas. But for the most part, it was like that first walk into the room to see what had happened overnight, like after you went to
yeah,
bed,
like it was like
came back in.
you walked into like Santa's workshop. That's how our house was too. It was like a tree with some shit on it. And when you went to bed, you woke up and you walked out. And
half the milk's drinking. There's a bite of the cookie. There's a note.
A lot of things happen.
Gets a lot of things.
Short window of time. And I couldn't even. I mean, I don't have kids, and I hope that if Jen and I are fortunate enough to have kids someday, that I can recreate that kind of experience for them.
Yeah.
Because like right now, like Christmas is whatever. Now it's like now I gotta go buy my wife some stuff because I know she's gonna buy me some stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like shit that she could buy on her own and shit that I could buy on my own. It's like I don't know.
Or we could buy tomorrow.
Right.
Or return yesterday. Like we don't need to.
For me right now, my favorite part of Christmas is having everyone over, cooking a big meal.
Yeah.
And then all of our friends hanging out and having that kind of like happy, warm, fuzzy Christmas spirit, you know?
That's what I think I like about the stocking. Is because it was that like connection to the people, at least for me, like my family, like my mom always, I could tell, put a ton of thought into my stocking.
Yeah.
You know, my dad and that side of the family, when I moved back in the high school, they did that a lot as well. They were really big on stockings, and I think they even knew that it was like something that I really liked. So they put a little personal
leaned into it.
So I think like the stuff under the tree is the presents you ask for. The stuff in the stocking is like the things that they'd want you to have or know that you would like, you know, that aren't necessarily what
you didn't ask for this, but we know you well enough to know that you're going to enjoy this.
By the way, since we're Aspen porch sitting, can we talk about Aspen is like going nuts right now?
It's like
there's
fire trucks,
police lights. I've got ambulance in the background. I know there's like
getting loose up here.
People are getting pulled over. There's a whole procession. I just saw a fire truck, ambulance, and cop come off of Main Street over to like
for the listeners. For the listeners, because I guess we really haven't talked about this. At this Aspen porch sitting, literally we are sitting on a porch
on Main Street.
On Main Street in Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah, West Main. So we watch everybody leave and enter town.
Yes, and you could, if someone was good at golf, they could probably hit a golf ball onto the mountain.
Absolutely, you could hit Norway from here. If you had a good.
Norway is one of the ski runs.
Yeah, shout out 1A. But yeah, so like I don't know what this background noise is, but I just had to call it out. It was distracting me a little bit.
So another. What was your tradition for getting the tree?
Oh, it's a really good question. I don't know where we got our tree. I imagine we just went out and chopped one down. We lived like, you know, in town, but like adjacent to the woods.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, hey man. Our tradition was.
Do we want to pause?
Yeah.
So where the Christmas tree came from, and you know, that was a really good question. I was struggling to remember because I thought we did what like you and Jenna do every year, which is like go out and chop down your own and bring it home.
Cut down.
Why cut versus chop? You're not cutting anything, you're chopping that fucking thing.
No, we take a saw and cut the tree. We don't take an axe and chop it down.
Why not?
Because the trees are like 4 inches in diameter.
Oh, for you, yes. You guys do Charlie Brown trees.
But I mean, even if you went and got like you'd have to have a serious house.
Did I told you about the bay window?
Yeah, I remember how tall was your tree? 7 feet? 8 feet? Okay.
Right.
So an 8-foot pine tree, Christmas tree, is still only gonna have like no bigger around trunk than a beer can, maybe a coffee mug.
What are you like right tool for the right job?
Yeah. We took chainsaw
after the sapling.
We took tannerite and strapped it to the base of the tree.
What we did was we threw poison on all the other trees, killed off all the rest of the one.
We circled the tree with claymore mines, blew it out of the ground.
Well, so I got to tell you this is where the tree came from. I just remembered, like with my mom and my stepdad, which was like, you know, interesting Christmases from 5 to 12 years old. My stepdad thought it was better to just buy a fake tree.
A fake tree,
like
plastic,
one that has like, you know, wire running through.
Sure.
You plug the metal hole into like the socket in the center.
You assemble your tree.
And I was like, this is the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
because he didn't want to clean up the needles.
Sure.
Was the deal.
I have heard that some people are like allergic to Christmas trees. And so there are some people that do fake trees because they're allergic to the tree. Now, I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ, what's genetic modification?
Stop being allergic to trees.
That
Anyway,
means you can't even go in the woods.
you can't go outside.
What are we doing?
Oh,
What is
anyway.
wrong with you? Can't
Anyway.
eat peanut butter. Can't.
Right.
Oh God.
I'm allergic to milk. I'm
Touch
allergic
the peanut. I'm now
Yeah.
in ICU. Oh
Mhm.
my God.
Anyway,
Wow.
so tree.
fake tree, which was not my favorite. I mean, it made sense. I get it. Like you don't have anything to throw away.
Totally.
It's not, so it's not
Box it back up and save it for next year.
Totally. Yeah, but it was, but like the tree also gets like misshapen over years.
Oh, I'm sure.
You don't ever have a conical.
It's worn out.
It was conical maybe the first year,
Sure.
and then it's kind of busted after that. Yeah, and it's just not that exciting. Because like one of the biggest things I think about the tree is the symbol, obviously, but like the smell.
The smell.
In the house, like oh my God.
Oh, it smells
Just
good.
even when you go out to the woods to cut it, you're like,
Nature.
yeah, bring this in my house for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. It's
Oh.
a nice little like breath of fresh air, quite literally.
We always went to the Christmas tree farm. So
Oh.
where I grew up.
That's what I've done mostly in my like young adult life because it's like I live in a city most of the time and condo, townhouse, or apartment generally. So yeah, it was like go to the tree farm,
Yeah, we
pick
would-
one out,
It was a whole
try to
event.
find the fullest one,
Totally.
and yeah.
Yeah, mom, dad, me, and Molly, we would jump in the truck and drive out to the Christmas tree farm, and then wander for hours,
Yeah.
trying to find the right one,
Yeah.
and then cut it down, and then somebody always ended up crying. You know, Molly got to pick the tree, and I didn't think it was the right one. or
Yeah.
I picked the tree, and Molly didn't think it was the right one. So it was always a thing.
Hard to get a consensus.
Totally, and it was no one gave two shits about the tree. It was just who got to pick the tree,
Oh.
and no one really
Who won?
Yeah, exactly.
Who
And parents
got the
didn't-
nod this year?
who got the approval,
Yeah.
and no one really kept track of whose turn it was.
So
So it was always an argument.
could have been 8 years
It was
running.
always a thing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I remember one year we got the tree, tied it to the top of the truck. We're driving home, and it flew off the top of the truck.
What?
Yeah, I think it was in a truck. It was a Jeep. It was my dad's old CJ.
What?
Yeah. So my dad, he didn't get her strapped down quite right,
What?
and we're driving.
It's like
home.
on the highway.
This is like yeah,
I mean, not
county
like-
road, highway.
I mean, but like, are you doing 70 or 25?
Probably. I mean, it was probably 55 mile an
Yeah.
hour highway.
Yeah.
So we're probably doing 60, 60.
And the tree comes off.
And the tree just like, all of a sudden we hear something on the top of the Jeep,
Worst nightmare.
and then like I turn around and there's like the tree laying on the road. And I'm pretty young at this point,
Uh-huh.
and I just start freaking out. You killed the tree's dead. I'm crying, I'm losing my shit. Because I think dad killed the Christmas tree, and now Christmas isn't gonna happen, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Molly's in the back crying.
We gotta write
too.
another letter to Santa to
Oh my
update
God,
him that
yeah.
we don't have a tree, but
And so my dad like whips it off the road and slams on the brakes and goes running back and grabs the tree, and I will just
didn't even throw it in the yard. Ran,
huh?
got out of the, didn't even throw the truck in the reverse, and like
No, he didn't back it up.
No, he
He pulled
just
over,
ran.
stopped, and ran back and got it. And I have this like image burned into my fucking brain of my dad running down the side of the highway with this Christmas tree on his shoulder. He's trying to like quick so no one sees it,
yeah,
and strapping it back down on the top of the Jeep and just
saving Christmas.
saving. And my dad's just like, oh my God, I should have never got married. I should have never had these stupid kids.
For real. Yeah, beers and
My
bar,
whole life would have been so much better without
surfing and balling.
this
I don't know,
nonsense.
whatever
Yeah,
it is, whatever
Totally.
the enticement might have been.
totally. But yeah, that will always be a Christmas memory of dad killing the Christmas tree.
It's a good one. That's like a Griswold memory.
And so,
It's like one of those like really bad stories where like I wouldn't believe it if it didn't happen,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
well, and
Well, I was thinking about the tree flying off, and the reason I was asking about speed.
oh, like hurting someone.
Yeah, a car behind you or
Well,
something.
and so
like,
keep in
my
mind,
goodness.
my dad has been a truck
Imagine.
driver.
I always see people that put mattresses on their car.
Oh,
You know, and like people are bad with
Oh,
straps and
totally.
tie downs and like
but see,
heaven forbid you let the mattress person tie your mattress
Right.
on top of your car. Like goodness, Well, and you get the cheeseburger chomp. Like,
oh yeah, the like taco, yeah,
it's catching the air, and then it comes down.
yeah.
Oh, God.
The screwy thing about this is my dad has been a truck driver, a farmer and a truck driver his entire life. So we're talking about a guy that makes a living securing down loads.
This should never happen to,
No.
This not happen to him professionally.
Never.
Like he had clean driving record.
We're talking about a guy that straps down combines onto flatbed trailers and drives them across the country.
A million miles.
Totally, yeah. Never lost a load, never had
lost the Christmas
and lost the Christmas tree with the kids for everyone to see it. You know,
everyone crying.
Yeah, so,
Christmas was dead.
You know, and it's it's the old adage, the bridge builder adage. You know, you build 1,000,000 bridges and suck one dick, and you'll always be known as the cocksucker and not a bridge builder. And that's
I've never heard those two mashed together.
No, I might have just
I've heard I've heard it told differently. But it always ends with you suck one dick, and then all of a sudden that's all anybody remembers.
It's always been so yeah, my dad's millions of miles with secured loads and lost a Christmas tree, and we'll always know him as the guy
that's the one
couldn't tie Christmas
that's the one
tree.
everyone talks about.
That's
the one people talk about.
All right, so favorite Christmas present, most memorable Christmas present.
Hands down, easy question.
Shoot.
Actually, I was thinking about this because I figured it would come up, but it was easy. I didn't even flinch. Nintendo.
Oh,
I think we had had a Nintendo collectively, between my cousins and I. So I grew up as an only child. My parents separated when I was really young. I was an only child till I was about 10. And I had my first oldest brother. All my mom and stepdad had a kid, and his name's Colby. Great dude, pilot, awesome.
I met him. Yeah, he's super good dude.
Yeah, I've hung with him a couple times actually, and he says the same about you. And Colby was where was I going with that?
Nintendo.
Oh, right. So Colby was not around when the Nintendo came. Before Colby came, I didn't have a brother. And my cousins, my first cousin, my mom had a brother. He passed, but my uncle had two sons that were right around my age. One was about a year older, and one was 6 months younger than me. And the three of us were we did everything together.
Sure.
We were they lived with my grandmother, and I would my mom worked at the restaurant, so we would all just go to the restaurant, and then my cousins and I would peel off and go play basketball, Nintendo. And so I don't know if I think we were renting Nintendos.
Oh, okay.
Renting the game console. We'd work at their family restaurant, save up $20, and you could rent the thing for a week or something for $20. And because video games were pretty new. I had a Texas Instrument. I don't know if you even know what that is. So Texas Instruments now makes calculators.
I'm familiar with the company.
Totally, huge technology company. But they were one of the first video gamers.
Okay.
And they had this thing, it was kind of a keyboard console on the left, almost like a word processor keyboard.
Okay.
With a video game slot on the same panel to the right. So think about a typical keyboard today was just where you could slide a cartridge in on the right. So that same thing. And that would connect to your TV, and it'd be like Atari. And so Texas Instruments was the first gaming system I had. But then Nintendo came out, and it was Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt. It was it was revolutionary.
Yeah, I remember.
Everything. Of course, setting some context for those that maybe don't. And
people that were born in the 90s as opposed to the 70s.
Some people don't know what a fucking cassette tape is.
Right.
But the excitement around video games, this was our era.
Totally.
It was our genre.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what our generation was known for, was Nintendo.
And Nintendo was I don't know, it was $100 or something like that for the whole thing. 2 controllers, the gun.
I remember it being very expensive for the time for a toy for a kid.
It was it wasn't expensive, but it was costly, I would say.
Sure.
Because it wasn't price preclusive. You could still get it. It was still approachable.
Right.
But it wasn't something you could just go buy every Friday.
Right.
It was
a special occasion. It was a Christmas present.
And so anyway, this Christmas was and we always did my cousins would do their Christmas with Grandma and Papa and their dad when he was around. And then Grandma and Papa would come over to mine. And they would usually bring the cousins, and we'd have a couple presents for the cousins and them, and then they would bring over them. And every year we got one big present.
Same.
Yeah, we got one big present, and then stockings were my favorite. And you get a few other things,
clothes and shit. Yeah.
Some were clothes that you needed, some were cool things that were fun that you asked for, and others were different things that you didn't.
You got socks, you got a dump truck, and a snowboard.
Thank you. Nailed it. And I remember that like the Nintendo was the big year. It was like I didn't really ever ask for the big gift, but they would ask us and we would give suggestions so that we would help them inform their shopping. But was never expectant of anything. Always stoked to receive it. And this year, if it wasn't Nintendo, tears were gonna probably happen. If I wasn't playing with the rest of the shit, you know.
We're burning this down.
Thanks for this fucking pinwheel or whatever else I got. Like if this isn't exactly. And so my cousins got Nintendo.
You have a choice.
So my cousins got Nintendo when they came over, like, we got Nintendo. So in my head, I'm like,
that means we're getting Nintendo.
I got Nintendo too. And my cousins like were probably instructed to like not say shit.
Totally. And just spill the beans all over.
Yeah. Immediately. They were doing their best. They just couldn't wait for me to open it. And I was like, Mom's like, which one do you want to open first? My cousin,
the Nintendo.
My cousin Justin was like, that one. That's
the box. That's the box. I remember that one.
Immediately. And of course, me, as I've already stated my affinity for stockings, I always start there. I'm like, I'll start with the stocking. My cousin Justin, he's like, no, you're doing it. What's wrong with you? There's Nintendo right there. So it was Nintendo. And you know, after we opened everything, cleaned up all the paper and everything, it was Nintendo for the rest of the day.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then we had tons of like bonding stories and experiences over Nintendo for the subsequent years. So it was a great thing. But yeah, Nintendo.
That was it.
I'm trying to remember how old I was. I'm gonna guess like 7, 8.
Yeah. I think Molly and I, my dad has a younger sister and 2 younger brothers. And his 2 younger brothers were like the rowdy uncles that like got you the shit that you weren't supposed to have. Totally.
The noisy thing.
Like took
the
me
gun.
Yeah. The shit. And it was.
You'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah. And they love getting me, especially me, because I'm the oldest boy on both sides of the family.
All right.
So they loved getting me stuff just so that they could watch my mom's face when I would open it. And one time they took me to go get a haircut, and I wanted to get my head shaved. I like watched some like Rambo or Commando or something in one of these like army action movies, and one of the main guys had his head shaved. And I had like beautiful long black hair, and my mom was like didn't want me cutting my hair short. Anyway, my uncles took me to go get my hair cut without telling my mom, and I came home with a shaved head. Like it was not good. So those were that was that.
Wow.
And they got Molly and I Nintendo.
What barbershops open on Christmas?
This wasn't Christmas. This was just, I'm just backgrounding on how they were the Henri uncles.
I see. Right.
Anyway, they got Molly and I a Nintendo for Christmas one year, and I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea. Because we didn't have cable, we didn't like know any of this shit. And we opened it up and I'm like, cool, what is it? I'm like, it's a video game. And I'm like, what's video? I didn't play video games. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought a video game was like a tall machine you put quarters in and push the button.
Arcade style,
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And so we got it. We plugged it in. We played it for a minute, and then I think it went back in the closet. I was not sorry, Uncle Rich and Uncle Tim, but
were you ever a Nintendo guy though?
Never.
No.
We had one. Like I said, they got us one for Christmas. I didn't know what it was. We
Yeah.
plugged it in. They showed us how to do it. I think I played it for like 10 minutes,
But it never like caught on after.
No. It went in the closet and lived in the closet. I've never been a video game guy.
I was until for a certain period. I guess I played up until like maybe my sophomore year of college. I got into like, I didn't really do the 007 stuff, which is where I think video games really started to like go to that next level.
Sure.
Where people were either gamers or they were like,
I remember
like,
guys
kids that
playing
grew
it.
up on Nintendo.
Yep.
No, but like people started actually like there were guys that were like pros at 007.
Yeah, I remember
Where
guys
they would
playing
like
it.
they would know where you would respawn, they would know where you could snipe and not be seen and not be found. There's guys that were like pro level at some of these video games. Gran Turismo is another one of them that people GTA.
Yeah, never played it. Definitely saw guys sitting around doing it. I just was
Well, when GTA first came around, like that was kind of breakup for me. I was like, now people are getting really
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
I've seen that looks fun. I've never played it, but I've seen video. I bet it looks fun.
Well, it's actually like potentially part of the like demise of society.
I can see that.
Because you just like the premise of the game is that you just walk up to a car, smash the window, smash the driver
Can't
out.
you do like you can get like prostitutes in there?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
like then kill them.
Buy and sell drugs, you just be a hoodlum. And it's like, well, if that's actually what people are, spending their time doing, what do you think they're going to do with their other time?
It transcends into real
They're
life.
going to translate that, yeah.
My favorite Christmas present was I got a train set.
Oh, nice.
And you know how I told you like we'd wake up in the morning and
I had train sets for a while.
it would look like barren, and then you'd wake up and like feel like you walked into Santa.
Toys R Us.
Right, yeah. So I remember it's probably honestly my earliest Christmas memory because I was maybe 5 years old. But I remember walking out into the living room with mom and dad, and my dad had it set up. Like out of the box, like set up.
Oh,
like
the tracks. Oh, shit, laid the tracks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he went and he built it. So and it was like a real deal, like hobby store train set. Not like a cheap like Fisher Price.
Proper L gauge or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, like it was the real thing.
It
had like a control box.
Yeah.
And like you can control the speed, and
yeah.
It was just a big oval.
Not some Hasbro shit.
No. So he went and got a 4x8 sheet of plywood.
Yep.
And then covered it in like this green like turf material, grass, and then he set the train tracks up in just like a big oval. So, but 4x8 sheet of plywood. That's a big piece of plywood. Yeah. That's a big toy for a kid.
Yeah.
And I got up in the morning and walked out, and there was like some presents in the middle, and then the train was going around in like a big circle, and you could put some sort of solution. I don't know. It might have just been like liquid smoke. You could put smoke in the thing, and then it would like puff. The engine would puff smoke. Mm-hmm. And I guess I said earlier that my dad was a farmer and a truck driver, but when I was real little, he worked on the railroad. He was an engineer for the Illinois Central Railroad, and his like first job was laying track. So when he was like 17 years old, he was laying track by hand for the Illinois Central Railroad, and then he took a test to get hired to actually work on the train. He became like a fireman, which is not like put out fires. You're like in charge of, I think you're like on the caboose of the train and like had something to do on the train. It wasn't like with a hose and fire. They just called it a fireman, but it was not what you would think. And there's like, worked his way up and then became an engineer and drove the train. And so the train set that he got me was an Illinois Central train, and so it's identical to what he drove, and that was a very memorable thing for me, and I had it for a long time.
Very cool.
The problem was,
did you add to it and like did you ever put little houses in little cities and did you mess around with the track construction?
No, because it was like
nailed, ran the train.
It was nailed to the board. ran the train. Drove the damn train.
We got routes, Jeff. We got pickups and drop offs. Yeah. Count on it.
There's a schedule. We got to keep him kicking around, getting all willy nilly. We got to hold this down. No, I do remember like cutting up shoe boxes to make like tunnels. You'd like cut a shoe box and put the shoe box upside down and then go through the tunnel. But the thing was, it was so freaking big, it couldn't just like live in the house all the time.
I took up a lot of real
estate. So like it was a whole thing. Dad, I want to play with the train set.
I gotta come out and
move the kitchen table and go to the garage and pull the thing out and set it up. Then we could play with it for like the afternoon, but then it had to go back into the garage and the table got set up.
Yeah, it was a chore to.
Yeah, I mean,
train.
Again, like I said, my dad was a big kid, so it seemed like a great idea at the time. Maybe a smaller train set, something a little more mobile, would have been a better idea. But
that's not what a train set's about. You don't want a small, compact train set.
You don't want no beginner train. You start out
mountains and tunnels.
Totally.
And these tunnels evolve over time. They started out as a shoebox, but then they get some like spray can, paint treatment.
But again, we had a schedule to keep. We couldn't be walking around.
This is not a tour.
Train runs on time, Jeff. Train runs on time.
Departs the depot sharply.
All aboard. Let's fucking go. Yeah.
That's good, dude. I love that. Good discussion about first or favorite present.
Oh,
So train set, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I feel like that actually is pretty good balance because I think we're pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like no video games, but we kind of span the digital age.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, where like TV, cable, you know, broadcast sports were becoming
Yep.
kind of more like mainstay and more avenues for that kind of content to be received.
Sure.
But like still very much like tactile.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to build stuff, you want to make stuff. Do you ever have an erector set?
So I had, what did they call it? It was called constructs.
Similar.
So it's kind of like an erector set, but it was plastic, it wasn't metal.
Oh, okay.
And then instead of nuts and bolts, it used like these like junction blocks.
Okay.
But you could build like crazy huge big stuff with it.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was my jam, man.
Yeah, me too. I love
Building that
shit.
stuff. I like Legos.
Little servo engine in there, we can make the
Yep.
arm go up and
Motorized
down.
stuff. Yep,
Yeah, totally.
And I like that kind of stuff. I got models. I was in models.
Oh, I did a lot of models too.
Remote
Yeah.
control cars. I love building remote control cars. I never got like the good like pro hobby store ones. I got like the cheap shitty ones.
Well, I had one or two.
The good ones.
My dad helped me build one when I was doing that skateboard thing that we were talking about earlier. Man, we put together this. It was Frankenstein's monsters because it's kind of like what we built, you know, and because it was all just the best components put together into something that like looked aftermarket as AF, but
Was a monster.
rip everything else. It was just like the best. Oh man, it was so much fun. Actually, my dad used to take me to like RC tracks. Did you ever do that?
We had, so Champaign is where Tower Hobbies is, which is like the biggest hobby manufacturer. So like every hobby store that they sell comes from Champaign.
No kidding.
And Tower Hobbies, and then and Horizon Hobbies. So there's two giant hobby stores in the town that I'm from. And so RC was big in our town, and you could go to the plant where they made them, and they had like massive tracks. So my dad would take me and we would watch.
Yeah.
But those cars were expensive.
Oh, totally.
And my dad was like, "No, I'm not raising a nerd. Go outside and ride your bike. Go get a shovel and."
Those are cool things to have exposure to, but not necessarily like lean into.
And also, my dad, he knew at a young age that I was one of those people that like, you give me an RC car, and then next thing you know, I'm going to be so into it that's where all my time and all. So he was very selective about what I was introduced to, because he knew that whatever it was going to turn into his hobby also. So, but yeah.
Realizing I can't read my own handwriting or anything as I'm looking at topics, but yeah, that's smart. Well, I mean, I think my parents were pretty conscious of that too. Like I was pretty diversified as a kid. They never let me really go like totally down one thing.
For me, it was hockey. And they kind of distracted me from all the like remote control cars or video games.
Well, mine was school. My parents were just like,
my parents knew there was no chance.
My parents were like, look, get good grades, you can do whatever you want to. Yeah, that was kind of the agreement. But it was like I also like my parents knew I was smart and like had actually raised me so that they expected I would be smart. Like my mom spent so much time with me when I was so young, like reading to me, working with me, like before I even went to like kindergarten. You know, so like I came into kindergarten like 1 or 2 years probably, like hit the ground running.
My mom spent most of her time chasing me around with a hairbrush.
Yeah. Look, if I came home with anything less than A's, like there was a conversation. And it wasn't a bad one, but it was like, you know, C's were like not even the conversation. C's were like, I never got a C until college.
I was C's, and D's they were pissed about D's. F's were conversations.
Yeah.
D's were like a stank eye. C's were like my kid's an honor student at the school. They were
killing it.
It's my boy. He's got it. It's my boy. No,
well, you know, frankly, like school kind of came easy to me, so it wasn't like we didn't really have many of these conversations.
Sure.
But I also, for my own standard, my expectation was like,
but school was important to you.
To me,
right?
Yeah, and then it was kind of ingrained in me, but it was also like I kind of liked the stimulation. I liked the social interaction with the kids, even though I wasn't like the coolest kid. I still liked being around other people because I was an only child. My stepdad was kind of an a-hole, you know, like I was happy to be out of the house and be around other people that were like talking about different things than what was talked about at the house.
Sure.
But I happened to be kind of good at school. And then, you know, when you're good at something, like you kind of want to,
totally,
you kind of want to test yourself, and you want to like see what other people are doing. And so that started at a very early age. My grandfather instilled that in me. You know, my mom reinforced it and carried it on. And like I used to like read encyclopedias in my room.
God,
like what a
shit out
I
of
know, right?
right?
But it was like it was just like I was stuck in my room. Like my stepdad would just be like, you can't go outside and ride your bike. And we're on quiet hours at the house. And I'm in my room, like, you know, he'd unhook the cable, he'd cut the power to my Nintendo.
Wow.
And so I'd have to figure out something to do in my room.
So you look forward to school.
And so I had books.
Right.
And so I just read them. And then I was like, well, you get interested in something because you read something about it. Then you get curious about it. Then it comes up in the topic in school, and you're like,
I got
oh,
this.
cool. We're putting these dots together. So you're kind of like finding your way on your own but I don't know. I was always just curious. I love learning about new things. This is pre-internet, so you couldn't go get stuff on your own. I didn't have a car. I couldn't go to the library. And if you go in the library, you're getting mostly dated material.
You know, that's so interesting though, that was like ingrained at you at an early age. Because for me, like school, my sister liked school and was good at school and did well in school. For me, it was like I had to go do my time so then I could go do what I wanted.
I mean, dude, holidays, snow days during the holidays were like gut punches to me. When I'd wake up and hear that there was no school that day,
you were like bummed.
Yeah.
Oh man, for me it was the other way. I was like, I'm free, let's go.
Yeah.
No, for me it was like doing time.
Yeah.
It was like I have to go do my time so that then I can go do what I really want to do. And that's why I didn't do well at school, because I looked at it almost like a punishment.
Yeah.
And snow day,
play their game in order to be able to be.
Well, it was I have to go sit still for this long.
That was crazy.
And like I'm like,
I don't nuts, dude.
I don't want to sit still.
Talk a 6-year-old kid that's just run and go sit still from 8 a.m.
till 3 p.m.
And if you can't, then you're
a bad kid.
Yeah.
Then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, we need to, and then like the next wave was like, now we medicate those kids.
Totally.
Or we put them in different special ed groups.
And I think that's why I didn't really take to school, was because that's how I was treated.
Yeah.
Like I was a bad kid because I couldn't sit still. And I'm like, well, the stuff.
And labeled as all kinds of things. A problem, a dummy.
Jeff, I had to go to they tried to put me in special needs classes. They tried to put me on drugs. They had me go to see a counselor. And my mom was like, guys, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a boy. He's just a fucking boy. And let him be in the school all the time. Was calling home, and I wasn't bad. I wasn't getting into fights. I never hurt other kids. I was never disrespectful to a teacher. I was just busy. I just wanted to be doing something.
Active, yeah.
Yeah, and also I was just bored with the crap they were teaching me.
Sure.
It's like I remember sitting in third, fourth grade, and they're like teaching us about electricity. And like we're talking about a kid that rigged a cattle prod to learn how to. I know how electricity works,
right? And
would like play with the electric fences around the farm. Like you're telling me about stuff that I understand how it works. I figured this out. Yeah. And now I got to sit still for the next 3 weeks in this class to learn about how to hook a battery up.
Right.
It's like I'm jump starting tractors.
Wild.
I don't need to learn about electricity.
Already got this.
Got this.
In fact, we should do a field trip and y'all come with me.
Come to my house and I'll show you electricity.
We'll take this 3 weeks, condense it down to,
and then we can go fuck around with the electric fence, because that's where the fun is.
And that's where you'll learn negative response.
Right, that's where you learn. No, but yeah, you're right, and that's what they do. They they drug these kids up nowadays. No, but also too, up until the time I had to go to school, I was fairly feral. Like it was like outside.
I never wore shoes.
No.
God, always had shorts on. Rarely wore shirts.
Running around catching snakes and worms and all kinds of shit.
Yep.
And then it's like, now I gotta go to school?
Yeah.
What?
Rein all this in?
Yeah.
Like this external world.
I had a lot of freedom up until this point.
God, I know. Wasn't that the worst? Like when you'd come back from like summer break, like the first week of school was just like petrified.
You remember learning cursive?
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember we learned cursive one year. So maybe like third grade?
Third grade.
And then we had summer off.
Mine was definitively third grade.
I think this is right. And then we summer off, and then we come back to fourth grade. And I couldn't remember when you were writing cursive.
How to swag the S's.
No, I couldn't remember if, like, you were writing a sentence, if you just wrote the entire sentence, or if you were supposed to, each word was separate.
Oh,
so like on the first day of school, we're like writing stuff, and it was just like this one long cursive word.
I'd like
this like was the entire page.
I'd like to talk to you about run-on sentences, but first I need to talk to you about run-on words,
dude. Because I remember I'm like having this mental like argument with myself. It's like, do you separate the words, or do you keep it all together? And I remember I decided in my mind, because I'm like, I don't want to ask because I want to be like the dumb kid, even though like everyone in the class knew I was the dumb kid. This would have surprised no one. But I'm like, do I separate them? Do I keep it together? Keep it together. It makes more sense. Why would you not separate it? All right, self, we're good. All right, keep it all together. So I write like what I did over my summer break. So it's like a half a page.
And you answered your summer break in one word.
In one complete word. And I remember then like we went to like PE or lunch or something, and we come back and the papers come back to us, and the teacher wrote on the top.
Was your mark surprising?
And the teacher was so sweet because clearly she knew that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to work on your word spacing. And I'm like, bitch, what word spacing? That's one word. Oh my gosh. I'll never forget that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
But then, I mean, now I know I'll never make that mistake again.
Well, nobody will make that mistake again because they don't even teach cursive.
They don't write cursive.
Why? What's the point of not teaching cursive?
Hang on. What was the point of teaching cursive?
Because print is incredibly slow, and most people's print is awful.
But you write in print.
That is all
Is
cursive.
that print? Is it
all cursive? Wow.
Yeah, that's cursive. You're right.
Every
Sorry.
single one of those things are cursive.
Yeah.
He's looking at my notes for those you can't see.
So I don't write often at all, but when I do write stuff down, it's like a mix.
Well, I don't even write cursive anymore. I like what most adults do, I think, are like what I'm flipping through some of my pages to show you, where it's more like it's cursive, but it's actually like now a bastardized version of cursive.
So it's like the first letter and then like a line and then the last letter.
Yeah, it looks more like a doctor. It's more like a doctor's signature
like
than
a
a prescription text.
That's kind of how I write
Totally. And especially if I've been drinking, I get some of my best notes and you just see pages like this.
It just gets flattered.
Things are circled and starred and like text is cut off. But like I write in cursive almost exclusively.
But it's crazy that you write stuff down. I mean, I know that there is a pen somewhere in this house, but I don't. Jenna would know. I don't know. I don't write anything down anymore.
It's fun to go back to the notes sometimes and see what you were thinking like 6 months ago, you know?
I'd rather not know. It's none of my business.
Well, that's why we're doing this podcast.
If I forgot it, it wasn't worth retention.
Put it back down, you'll throw it later. Just points and evidence we can put back to. So tell me about music for the Christmas holidays. You and I did a little last minute shopping today. We ran down and did some buddy errands.
Yeah.
And walked into one store that was playing like god awful Christmas music.
Oh my god.
And I made a comment about like, I can't stand some of this. I shared with you my high school job that had music on repeat.
The Mariah Carey situation.
And so I mentioned something. Unfortunately, ours was John Denver at the work thing, but like the Mariah Carey is the most prevalent or prevalent like Christmas music of all. And I love Mariah Carey. I actually had the CD in my CD wallet like back in the day.
Mariah Carey Christmas?
No. Like some of her
regular
music. Sure. I don't remember the names of the albums, but like, you know, back in the day when like Boys to Men and like, you know,
no.
Well, I love R&B and I love hip hop and Mariah Carey like went from being like white girl to like hip hop at some point. And this
got a little like ghetto street cred thing going on.
And this transition married Nick Cannon. After this transition,
beautiful woman.
And one of the best voice
ever. Bat shit crazy. I mean,
woman. I digress.
No, but it's the hot woman, and now you add talent to that, and it's the whole Matrix, and yeah.
Y'all know the fuck around and find out metrics. You know the hot crazy metrics.
The hot crazy metrics, not Matrix. Yeah,
but the point being is like, just like Christmas music from me. Like I kind of have this like semi-tradition. I love the Nutcracker. I like to, it just kind of signals the event. I don't necessarily love the Nutcracker story, and some productions do it better than others. But I have kind of an annual tradition of like making sure that I find like a local production.
Oh, really?
Of the Nutcracker.
Cool. I'm not going with you, so don't ask.
I've never asked you. I've known you for 10 years, and I've been invited once.
Because you know the answer.
Exactly. Well, it's like something you do with your girl, or like I've often gone like, to like different shows throughout the holiday based on the production quality. Like I like a little theater, I like a little stage performance. I know that separates us. I know it separates us. I hear you, but the Nutcracker specifically, like it kind of signals the season for me.
Got you.
And that is like something that I choose to like indulge in, and I'll deal with the crowds, and I'll deal with the like pageantry of the season, a little bit of the ridiculousness of, kind of the over the top. But like what we were dealing with today, where it's just like overhead Christmas music is bad, it's unfettered,
it's loud,
and it's omnipresent from store to effing store. And then you get like a Chipmunks version in one, and you get like the Bing Crosby version, and you get like the super duper like hippie version of one, and you're like, I can't. No. I just can't do it.
I want to light myself on fire and throw myself off the building.
It's so funny. I made that comment about Mariah Carey, Christmas music,
and then the dude got like offended.
Yeah. Well, no, he came at us.
Yeah.
No. So
what'd you say about Mariah?
I made the comment. I thought it was just a throwaway comment between you and I. Like whatever. We're just filling the air. And then she goes, "Well, luckily we don't have any Mariah here." And I'm like, "It's fucking Mariah."
This is Mariah. She said that, and I was like, "Wait a minute." And I'm like, maybe I just don't know Mariah Christmas. But I was thinking the same thing. Well, you should have said something. You should have been like, no,
lady. That's what I was like. Get me the F out of Glenwood. I can't be here anymore because people aren't even talking level. We're not even starting the same line.
No,
we're not. I'm like, the only reason I made the comment about Mariah
was because it was on. And now you're saying we don't have it.
Some ball humbugging or just trying to bum people out.
Yeah. No,
and then at the end of it, the guy said, he's like, "Well, I hope you have a Mariah Christmas." And I was like, what? Return that fight.
We're fucking fighting. Put them up, buddy. It's go time.
We're returning this merchandise. And after you're refunded to my card, I'm snatching this stuff off the counter and I'm out of here. You earned this.
Yes,
you caused this. You caused this. So what was that?
I don't know.
What was that? It was trying to be funny, but like I was like, no, you're not.
No, he was.
I think he wanted to be a good customer service rep. Like he was trying to be ancillary to what was going on.
I mean,
but he came in and just like cut it off.
I think you and I were visiting. We were clearly making light of the situation. We were making the best out of a terrible situation.
I didn't think they were even paying attention to it.
Well, I think that their day probably sucked.
I know.
And there was like a little glimmer of
something to catch on.
Fun happening. And
because we were probably the first two that had personality in the last hour.
Totally.
Yeah, maybe all day.
The people, I mean,
I saw you say something to one lady, like you said, "Thank you." And like looked at her directly, and I saw her eyes like look back at you like, "Thank you for making eye contact with me,
saying thank you,
and acknowledging
for
me,
being a polite human."
Yeah.
No,
and I was like, God, what is that girl's days? Because you weren't like overtly anything.
No,
you were just like normal, like as you always are, polite and like reciprocal and all that. And the way that she looked up was just like,
"This is the first interaction that I've had all day that was decent."
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? That's terrible.
Have you noticed?
Because like you treat people gently and nicely.
I sure try to.
For the most part, we both do, I think,
Well, it's how we were raised. And
of course, yeah. But also like there's a general like we have developed our own empathic levels for certain things, and you have some affinity for things and I have some affinity for things that people are maybe working through
Totally.
that you can recognize.
Well, I mean, I get if you're working retail on a
You know
Friday
it's
before
shit.
Christmas,
You know it's shit.
it sucks.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
know it's shit.
and whatever, great that they're doing that, good for them. Maybe who knows?
I don't know your situation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I get that there are places that you would rather be.
yeah,
and
yeah.
and then to get people at your place of work
Throw crank and
totally
Yeah.
have no manners,
yeah.
no common courtesy, no
Yeah.
decency,
Yeah.
no just human whatever.
Well, because even if you and I don't get what we want, like going to a store and they don't have what we want, we're bummed out,
Mhm.
It's still like, thank you, appreciate you checking. I hope you have a great
It's not the
day.
lady scanning the tag's fault.
Right, you
Like,
didn't do this.
You did, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I know I have to talk to you about this, but I know you didn't do this.
Sure.
Yeah, so
And I don't know. I really try and approach that like that.
yeah,
But the problem is most people I don't think do.
no, they don't.
I think people like for me,
I saw so many people that were like Tara Friday before Christmas, absolutely transactional to register.
yeah.
Didn't ask like, how's the day been? Has it been busy? What are your plans for the holiday?
Merry
It
Christmas.
was just like I swiped my card, waiting for the receipt to print out. You put it in the bag, hand me the bag so I can get on.
No interaction, no
Yeah.
communication, no
Just
nothing.
standing in front of each
You
other.
see it all the time. Like people come up, put their stuff on
That
the counter.
bothers me. That's weird. That's odd.
I think
I can't stand there and
Well,
not talk
that-
to somebody.
I-
Like that's my own thing.
Yeah.
But I also can't wrap my brain around two people just standing there not interacting.
right. It's awkward.
I don't know. You guys
You're making me uncomfortable. Somebody say something.
What are we gonna break?
Are we having an awkward off here? Or we just look like whoever says something first loses?
Yeah.
No, it's
Well, you're pretending to wait for the receipt to print out.
Right.
You're pretending you have a text coming in.
and
we
everyone
don't
knows
engage
you
in-
have clearly you have no friends. Look at how you interact. No one's texting you.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. Because most people try to look busy like they do have friends. And all that does is signal
You
ain't
don't
got
have-
shit
because
you have no social skills.
Right, you're not interacting with
If
anyone.
if you can't talk to me right now, how on earth did you build anything meaningful with anybody else around you? That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. We were talking about this earlier about by trying to cover up the insecurity with an action,
Totally.
you actually display
Insecurity.
insecurity so blatantly.
You're making it worse.
You're actually
That's why you can always tell when someone's lying is because they over detail their story.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
no, if you just let it,
Yeah.
how to lie, don't say anything.
Yeah. Say less.
Just say less.
Say less.
No, but but I think that's just human nature. Things that we don't want people to know about, we try to hide. And so then by us doing that, really opens the door.
Well, I mean, one of the most deeply seated things we talked about this recently is projectionism.
Totally.
It's one of the most telling psychological things
Mhm.
that you can suss out in somebody.
Well,
Well, it's like anytime. Sorry, I digress. But one quick point on this is if everyone's pointing outwardly,
Mhm.
you got to look inward.
totally.
It's like everything has been this person or that person or this time or that time. Like there's no accountability.
Well, you're the
I know
common
what I'm
denominator.
dealing with. Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah.
if you're one of those people that has tons of problems
Yeah,
with everyone,
right.
you're the problem.
With everyone, yeah.
The other day I was driving down and this woman, get the fuck out of the left lane. But this woman was driving in the left lane, trying to pass a concrete truck 5 miles an hour under the speed limit for miles. And so I got closer and got closer. You have to see me right now. I'm literally in the back seat of your car. Get the fuck out of the way.
My front bumper's on your trailer hitch.
Now I'm pushing
I
you.
now feel safe.
You should know to get over. And so finally she does get over and I go around her and she immediately flips me off.
Ugh.
And I'm like, whatever. And I just waved and said Merry Christmas, mouthed Merry Christmas to her as I drove by. So 2 hours later, I'm getting gas. She
rolls
pulled
in.
into
Nice.
the gas station
Nice.
right next to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And so I'm just looking at her. And my truck, for people that are just listening, my truck stands out. It's very identifiable, very distinguishable. It's an 85 Chevy truck, but it's lifted, bumpers, lights, all the stuff. It's an off-road truck.
Square body, stands tall, runs loud.
It's loud, it's noisy, it's
and
rowdy.
And he drives it as such.
Yes, I drive it like it was stolen. But anyway, so she knows that this is the truck. There's no two way. There's not another truck like it anywhere.
Not between here and Pennsylvania.
No. And so she like looks at me, and I looked at her, and I just smiled and kind of waved, but didn't say anything. Could not have been nicer. I'm a believer, and when someone's upset with you, the nicer you are to them, the more it hurts.
Yeah.
Well, the more it hurts them. Because they want that argument. They want that.
They're coming charged.
Yeah.
And you're like,
not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You've clearly thought about it more than I have.
Yeah.
And it's just like ruins them.
Yeah.
It's just fucking melts them through their shoes.
Totally.
But anyway, and she's like,
so true.
She's like, you drive like a jerk. And I was like,
you drive like an asshole.
I said, well, I appreciate you giving me the old salute. And she like stops and thinks about it. And she's like, yeah, I have to flip a lot of people off. And I was like, do you think maybe
get off the fucking phone?
If you have to flip a lot of people off,
get over to the right lane.
Because like I haven't flipped anyone off in my car in a long time.
I have not used my horn in 9 years.
Yeah, I mean I don't really have that many bad interactions while driving.
Yeah.
If you have to flip people off all the time, you're the problem.
Yeah. Why are you mad at me?
Right. Like clearly you're anyway.
What's the old saying? Flip one person off, you're flipping yourself off 4 times. No, that's made up. But but like if you point one finger.
Are we talking about bridge building again?
No, you don't. If you point one finger forward, pointing back at you, it's like you flip someone off.
Oh yeah. If you point,
yeah. It's like what is your accountability? Just flipping.
It's actually I think 3 pointing back at you.
Yeah. Well, my dad always used to say
finger guns.
Yeah. Well, my dad always used to say, it'd be like, how many fingers do you have? And of course, everyone answers 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. You have 8 fingers. You have 2 thumbs.
Oh,
and I was like, such a dad.
Brilliant. Dad joke. Totally dad joke.
You know what I mean? It's like you're pointing your finger at somebody, you got 3 pointing back at you.
Yeah.
So something with flipping people off. Are you a bird flipper, by the way?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I don't
really get that.
I will say that
that doesn't really release the energy for me.
And when I get flipped off, it just makes me happy. And
I know.
I don't get flipped off often. That's probably maybe that's the only time in my life I can remember getting flipped off. My wife and I flip each other off.
If I get flipped off, it's always on the road.
Totally.
And it's usually because of exactly what you're talking about, which is like a bad driver, telling me that I was doing the wrong thing.
Right.
Not to say that I'm the greatest driver and I always do everything right. Like,
sure.
But like we're talking, go see episode 1. Yeah, get the F out of the left lane. We're just talking about the reasons why you might catch the bird on the highway. And we don't really do those things. Sure. We're usually not those guys. Yeah. Every once in a while I have a moment or something.
Jenna and I flip each other off all the time.
Well, that's like
but it's like joking. It's like flirting. Yeah, it's like a joke between us.
But I think it's funny. Like that's the go-to move on the road. Is people are just like they'll honk
and then
my
go
drive by. They're like, yeah.
My go-to move is I'll run you right the fuck off the road. So you don't bring your fingers to a truck fight. Exactly. Because put your ass in the ditch. I grew up watching Dale. I know how to do this. I'm sleeping under rugs.
Oh my god, that's good stuff, dude.
Anyway, should we wrap this? Let's give a shout out to Randy.
I was gonna say we've got 2 more things we need to talk about. One, both are local, and so rolling into the holiday weekend, if you don't want to cook. You don't want to have to clean up after your messy family, or your messy family's going to leave town the next day.
Or if you just want a place to go get drunk because you can't deal with your family anymore.
Brand new Rhino's Basalt Edition.
Yep.
Sponsor of this episode. Thank you.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's my wife Jenna and her business partner Ryan. But it's been doing great. A lot of people are loving it. It's good. Go check it out. And take the kids. They got some video games, arcades.
Right, centrally located in Basalt too.
Yep.
So for you locals, just down the street from the middle school.
Old Town Basalt.
Great place to bring the kids. Great place to great place to bring the kids. F-bomb.
Yeah.
Great place to bring the kids. Great place to bring the family. Great place to bring a date.
I think. Great place for everything.
It's a good location. And
good vibe, good food,
good energy there. Yep. Yeah, good people there. Let's give them out. Let's give a little. Do you know Pat McAfee? Oh man, I'm a fan. He does a podcast. Pat McAfee used to be the punter for the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
All Peyton Manning era.
Got you.
And now he has like a long running ESPN show, podcast basically. But they run daily.
Oh, cool.
They're on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and they go to YouTube after so they can say all the F-bombs and stuff off there. But he's got like a whole crew. And Pat McAfee always gives shouts out like we do. And so we'll just give a
shout out to the shout outer.
Just a big Pat McAfee. He always claps like this. And he's got like a gold Rolex, and he always,
such a sports guy
he
thing.
wears tank tops on like tank tops every day. And he's jacked, dude. And the guy's
a beauty.
Dude, this guy, like Pat McAfee, was on the Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning. The only player I think ever to recover his own onside kick.
No shit.
He did an onside kick and it went like 11 yards, and he was the one that like ran and got behind it at yard 12 and beat the entire other team.
Awesome.
He played in some meaningful Colts games, in the like New England Patriots rivalries. And anyway, Pat McAfee show. Shout out to those guys because we love giving love. They love giving love. So we're cut from the same cloth there. We got through the traditions, man. I think the last thing outside of Rhinos is we got a good friend who's taking a big leap.
Big leap.
And good for him because he's well-liked guy.
One of the best guys. Salt of the earth.
Stand-up dude.
Real good guy. Randy Brown is his name.
Yeah.
His stage name, what you can find him under, is Oland Tucker. He used to go under Randy Brown. He was highway something. What was it? Highway 51 or Highway 80?
I don't know. Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter. That was his old band, but
it's Olin.
But yeah, now he's the Olin Tucker band. Olin Tucker is the name that he's recording under. The reason that he changed it was Randy Brown is like the most common name.
Yeah.
You Google Randy Brown and there's a lot of people.
Yeah, John Smith going on tour.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but his grandfather's name was Oland. And so that's kind of a rare, uncommon name.
Yeah, good share.
And so now he's recording under that Owen Tucker. And
first singles out on Spotify.
Yep. Working Man. And it's amazing.
The first single, he's got several backing it up. I think there's going to be an LP out soon.
Yeah, he's going to release a whole album. This was just the single off this first album.
And he's been traveling and touring and is now basing himself in Nashville.
Everyday Working Man, excuse me.
Everyday Working Man on Spotify.
Yeah.
Olin Tucker.
And I think he's on Spotify, he's on iTunes.
All the platforms. You can get it everywhere.
Check it out. It's great. It's
good stuff. I've shared it with a lot of friends and everyone
everyone has nothing.
All my country folk come back to me like I grew up like this.
Totally.
All my city folk are like, this slows me down and I love it.
Yep. Yeah. And my dad, railroad, truck driver, farmer, grandpa, all the same. Like these are the types of men that I grew up around. And he's got a line in there about putting your boots on, and it was just like how you start every day, and it hits home. It's an amazing song.
Well, and he's an extension of the War Hippies that we mentioned in the previous episode.
Yes.
Part of the music family that was building between these guys, and they've been doing phenomenal music. They do great things for the community. They're just really good people. So if you just get a chance to come out and say hi to them,
check them out,
and maybe enjoy the show too. But just like you'll feel different if you get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, and he'll definitely talk to you.
Yeah,
until you tell him to stop.
Yeah,
he's one of the greats.
And you and I can talk to each other for hours.
We gotta wrap this up,
but we always gotta wrap it up, man. I could do this with you for 3 hours every
time,
man. But we always gotta draw the line. So this is the end of episode 3. Merry fucking Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
We love you. Thank you for listening to us lunatics. We'll catch you next time.
Bye. That was great.